what's up? Welcome to the Planetary Annihilation livestream, or another one, I guess. I'm here with my main man, John Maverick. What's up?
What's up?
John Combs.
Hello.
And we got one heck of a show planned for you today. A lot of stuff to talk about. If you haven't noticed, if you haven't played the latest build of the game, you should totally do so after the stream, of course, after we're done talking to y'all, because it's a huge update, just massive. The way the game plays now is totally different. We've added new units, new mechanics, and new features, and these guys are going to talk about those today. I'm really excited, and first though, of course, as we always do, I want to thank all of the backers and pledgers, the people who have helped us out in this video game making process. Without you, this wouldn't be possible, and yeah, we're on a heck of a roll right now, too.
I'm channeling you today there, Brad.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. Good intensity, good bringing it. So one of the things we want to show you today, too, before we get started, is we have a brand new launcher, a multi-platform launcher, and with it, we can do really cool stuff like deploy multiple builds. You guys want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the idea is to be able to have different kind of streams, a stable stream and kind of an alpha stream. We'll see how we end up rolling that out, but having that capability is pretty awesome. And then, of course, for the Mac and Linux community, this is going to be good because the installation process, not through Steam, kind of is rough right now. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be pretty sweet. And it looks cool too. Yeah. I think.
And for those who didn't catch it, Brad's password is ...
Yes, it's all those dots.
With a comma in the end, or what?
I don't want to give away all the secrets on the screen yet.
So I'm pretty excited about this. I don't know that we have. Well, we never give dates, but I'm not sure when this is rolling out. It's kind of in internal testing right now. There's still some work to do on it.
I like to use the word soon.
Soon.
In quotes. Soon.
Soonish.
Awesome.
Soon.
Sweet.
So what we're going to do is we're going to play a game in the background today while these guys talk about all the amazing new things, including the recent balance changes, which are present in today's update. The teleporter, which is a brand new unit. Now you can take entire armies across your worlds real easy. And, of course, we'll talk about what's coming in the future as well, and design philosophies, those kinds of things. Should be fun.
Sweet. So the first thing I want to talk about before we even get to PA stuff is, the Steam Dev Conference just ended, and everybody that went got some pretty cool hardware. So this is, I don't know how well we can see this. Maybe, yeah, there we go. So you guys have seen this before, I'm sure, on the interwebs, but this is an actual controller with, the real labels on the back and everything. They did a run of this. Interestingly enough, this Steam controller that we have is actually outdated now already. Yeah. Because they've decided to put in some diamond buttons, which actually I think is a really smart choice, because it'll make the controller much more backwards compatible. And people are like, "What are we doing with this stuff?" Right? I mean, it was like an idea, but I don't think anyone really coalesced around what to do with it. So that's pretty cool. We've been playing around with this a little bit. I haven't had much of a chance to do much with it, but we have hooked it up and played around with it a bit. So I'm pretty excited about the controller and playing PA from the couch with it and all that kind of stuff. So we also have my cup holder over here for my, Coca-Cola. Coke people, we're still waiting for your call. Anyway, this is a really cool box made by Gigabyte, a little Steam machine. Intel basically bought these for every single person at the Steam Dev Conference.
I got one.
So we have a few of these around. And we're going to use these for testing PA on SteamOS. This is an amazing little machine, let me tell you. It weighs quite a bit. It's pretty heavy. It's got a beefy...
Super small, though.
Super small. I mean, you can't even tell how small this is just by looking at the camera. I mean, compared to John's head, right? The awesome head compared to the Gigabyte, brick. Yeah, exactly. So, this has a really fast CPU unit. It's got the Intel Iris 5200 graphics, which is Intel's best graphics so far. I'm cautiously optimistic that the game's going to run great on this when they get their driver situation all under control. I'm really impressed with all of the Steam machines, but this one in particular is way cool. So
and it's all it feels very beta right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they were saying September or something like that is what they're shooting for. So we're talking months and months and months before real release. So,
but we have it, which means that we can make the game better for all you Linux people.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that Valve was working on this a couple of years ago, or had some idea that they were going down this route, which is one of the reasons that PA is on Linux, because quite frankly, there's not really any kind of financial reason to do it. It's really a future thinking, trying to be ahead of the curve kind of thing.
And for our fans.
Well, yeah, I mean, people want to play the game on Linux, but let's be realistic here. People that run Linux can boot up another OS if they really need to, but we want to support it. It's quite a bit of work to do it.
Yeah, chances are if you're running Linux, you know how to dual boot your machine.
Yeah, I don't think anyone that runs Linux doesn't know how to do that. So I think we're still at less than 1% of people playing on Linux, though. So anyway, these are really, really cool. I don't know how much this is going to cost, so who knows? Anyway, let's talk about the game. So
to the game.
Let's do it.
So John, you've been working on the project a little bit here and there over time. You were always the kind of balance genius that did the initial setup, but recently we've started to go back and start to make some bigger changes. And one of the things that we always said was, there's going to be big changes. I don't think people believe it when we say that, but there's going to be big changes to the game, and this is a pretty major rebalance. And realistically, this represents only about a week or so of your work, right?
Yeah.
So it's in fact, when we said that we were going to just release this, you were kind of like, what? It's not really ready. Yeah. But I think just getting it in people's hands is the way to go. If there's going to be a time when we're going to play around with the game and mess with stuff, it's between now and launch. And so, we should set some expectations that, if this doesn't work or if we don't like this direction, it will change, and we may make continued major changes. One example of that is you came to me and you were like, what do you think about the idea of having orbital fabbers be able to build a ground-based unit, specifically the teleporter?
Right.
And I was like, it seems like it should work. And we have been discussing this whole concept of how do you crack a planet.
Yeah.
And teleporters in general turned out, A, way different than I was expecting, B, way cooler than I was expecting. And do we get the chevron locked thing in there yet?
Not yet. But yeah, if you haven't played with them yet, the teleporters, there's nothing like having that feeling of taking a massive army and flowing it through a teleporter and having all the units pour out of the other side.
And I'll be honest, I never thought we could get it working to the extent that it does. Yeah. Right? I mean, you can pour a fucking army through that thing.
Yeah. And the amazing thing about for those of you who don't know me, I've been working on RTSs a long time, going back to Command and Conquer days and Supreme Commander with John and crew and stuff. And I've been working on a little...
Don't forget Demigod.
And Demigod. And Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth. So, a lot of different ones.
Command and Conquer Generals.
But I've been spending most of my time on an iOS game, and still spending time on it as well, on an iOS game called Toy Rush that we're doing as well, which is a tower defense game. So still staying in the strategy genre, but now I've been spending some of my extra hours and stuff helping out PA. And my main idea was, we have this game that has these really amazing features. I mean, I've never smashed an asteroid into a planet before in a game. So my main goal was to take all these features, all these units we have, and actually start fleshing out the game side of it. What does the game feel like? So there was a bunch of different goals we had in mind. One was, how do we crack a planet, which was what we talked about. So that's one of the big things we're still working on. The first big step was these teleporters. So now being able to get your army to where you need them in a timely fashion was difficult before. And so now we've made it easier, because now one of the issues we have these big planets, and we want the tanks and the bots to feel like heavy tanks and heavy bots, which means they move a little slower. They have these really big, powerful weapons on them, and we want them to feel that way. But when we want them to go around a gigantic planet, it's not feasible to have these slower moving units get to that other side of the planet in a reasonable amount of time when you're trying to coordinate an attack. So when we started talking about teleporters, I was like, well, we can alleviate that problem and still keep attack combat units relevant in the entire game, rather than just ending the game with super units, by using these teleporters. So the teleporters were put in at a higher tech level. I moved them down so we can get units around, making them cross-planet. If you're trying to crack a planet, now in a lot of our internal playtests, it's come down to, I've taken over this moon, But on the moon, I've built a ton of factories and poured out an entire army, and now it was about me sending over my orbital fighters to clear out a beachhead around an orbital around a big planet, get some orbital fabbers down there, throw a teleporter down, and then flood my army through and assault all base that way.
And I had always envisioned that the outer moons and the outer asteroids would basically be great resource gens, right? Where you could go out and capture that territory and use it to create resources. But I had always thought about it from the perspective of, you know, you're just generating metal and energy out there, and then you have factories closer to home. But the fact that the teleporters are so awesome really kind of just opens that up, that whole flood an army through a gate thing. It's pretty awesome. In fact, Forrest, who implemented that, needs to get some kudos.
Yeah, Forrest did an awesome job. So this is this is also another reason too that when we say this is how the game's going to go, and when we go to implement it and we change it, we got to tell everybody, you know, you can't get stuck on saying this is our original design for this, because we'll implement something and we'll get it working and it'll turn out better than we thought. We'll be like, oh, this opens up this.
Do more with this. Yeah.
We didn't realize there's no way to predict always how well or how poorly certain ideas will come out. And once they actually get in the game, then you go, oh, okay, this opened up this whole thing. Like I never honestly thought teleporters would be used the way they are now. And I think
we are still going to do transports, by the way.
Yes, we are still going to do transports. The whole cracking a planet that's completely guarded thing isn't. I mean, the teleporters were a big step, but we're going to be looking at some bigger interplanetary nukes. You know, other ways. Of course, you can always slam an asteroid into the planet too. That's
yeah, I mean, we get into this thing right now where you can launch your commander on an Astraeus and fly it around and kind of bounce around, and you get into these like weird stalemate situations and stuff. And we still have a lot of thinking to do about that, but some of that are things like the interplanetary nukes. So, for example, if you load your commander up and send him out, he's just a sitting duck, right? Yeah. Like the way you want to do it is you want to send out an engineer, build a teleporter, and then move your commander on the ground where he's safer. Little things like that. You shouldn't be able to just bounce your commander around. But so we're still talking about the solutions to these problems.
Yeah. And along with having the teleporters and wanting, what I was noticing playing the game is when you got past Tech 1, the combat unit play fell out of the overall strategy. So you were having, most games were coming down to nukes, anti-nukes, asteroids, and some orbital lasers and stuff. And we really wanted to make units be part of the end game too. So one of the really big changes we made was the combat units, the Tech 2 bots and the Faber, or the Tech 2 tanks and those kind of things are much cheaper, much faster to build. So even late game with the teleporters, you can still move around armies and actually win the game by attacking with an army.
It's interesting. We've had this conversation several times where I'm like, I don't want the units to be too popcorny, and some of that goes back to kind of the pace that TA had back in the day. But the thing about TA is the first thing that people do when they start the game up is they go plus 10, and then they start playing. So our default speed needs to be more like that kind of plus 10 speed. So far, though, like it just seems like it's brought a lot more action to the battlefield, which is what we're looking for. So
which, along with that, John had expressed to me that the units feel a little too popcorny, and I actually agreed. So I tuned down some of the firing rates of bots and tanks, which was helpful both tech-wise and gameplay-wise, because we don't have to send as many projectiles over the wire, which is reducing bandwidth. At the same time, we're increasing bandwidth by having more units on the field. But by doing that, the battles last a little bit longer. I've been in a process of kind of fleshing out the unit roster, and part of that
is the big unit roster kind of fleshing out that I've been talking about for a while.
And part of that was if I'm me looking at the units that we have and say, okay, if I'm assaulting somebody's base, what is the mix of units I want? We don't want one unit solutions. One unit solutions tend to say, hey, that one unit is overpowered. So what is the mix? And one of the things we're adding is really heavily armored units with really short range weapons. So you have to get them close, but they have lots and lots of health. We're looking at, it'll probably end up being, the Tech 1 will be a flame tank. So you'll have these units that aren't popcorn at all, and they're meant to be in front of your army taking all the damage. And then we've also added things Well, I'll say this. One of the things that we've been talking a lot about is what's the difference between a vehicle and a bot? They're both, every unit needs to have its role. So, naval units have their role in the water, air units have their role in the air, and those units will continue to morph and the balance will change of those things over time. But bots and tanks are both on land, and what we had before, the assault bots were filling the same role as a tank.
Yeah, the big question is, why do I build a bot versus a tank? Or why do I build a bot factory versus a tank factory?
Right.
And the answer to that question in some games could just be, well, it's just variety. But we were trying to place them in different roles so that they both have their unique kind of capabilities.
And our first crack at it was kind of, bots are
faster,
quicker, shorter range, and cheaper. And that was okay, but I was thinking about it and I decided, what would make sense? Let's take the bots and fill them more of the roles you generally see in infantry in war, and the vehicles are roles you generally see.
So basically,
in
you're just ripping off Command and Conquer.
Ripping off war in general. Yeah. So instead of adding really heavy bots like we added to the vehicles, we added in what we're calling combat fabbers on the bot side. So they're more like medics. So the combat fabbers will run behind. They can also
lay mines.
They can lay mines, and the tier 2 combat fabber can put up a teleporter, so that you can roll your army a little squad ahead with a bunch of tier 2 advanced combat fabbers, pop up teleporter and flood your army through. So that's the way we've been driving things. The artillery bot turned into a sniper bot, so it's not good for assaulting base because it fires kind of flat, which hits walls. Whereas the artillery vehicle fires over walls and can take out the defense.
And that was another factor as well, is making walls much easier to build, both through the area command interface, which we didn't even really talk about. We should talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and the cost of them.
Right. So walls are going to be much more prevalent. We're also working with the artists to get a little bit more verticality in our planets, so that you can. You don't need to just ring your base every time with walls. More planets will have plateaus and things that you can build in behind.
Yeah, there's a lot of evolution that I think has to happen on the planet stuff for sure.
Yeah. And going back to area commands, if you haven't tried them yet, wow, what a difference the game has made. It's nothing like taking over a planet, saying, I want to build a mass extractor and just highlight the entire planet, and that fabber is going to go build a mass metal extractor on every single metal spot.
So that was one of those. So I from the very beginning I wanted to do area commands, and it took us a long time to get to the point where it made sense to get them in, and they're awesome. But one of the things that fell out was that whole planet command, right? Remember we were sitting there, and it's like you drag it, and then what do you do when you get to the cursor to the edge of the planet? And somebody was like, just have it do the whole planet. It's like, oh yeah. Like,
planet patrols when you take over an asteroid with your planes and even your orbital fighters is really, really useful. Building metal extractors all over a planet is really, really useful. Taking bombers and attacking an area is really useful because the code's smart enough to split up the bombers so that they'll hit different targets and not overkill something too much. It's really. It's taken so much micromanagement out of the game, which I'm a big fan of, because Planetary Annihilation is such a huge game with so much depth and so many units flying around. You don't want to be telling the driver of some tank, hey, you need to go up here and fire at this thing over here. It figures it out for you, so you can focus more on the strategy rather than the tactics of the game. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, that's the whole schmozzle right there.
Yeah.
I'm making up words. It's cool.
It's a good word.
It is a good word.
I'm into it.
Yeah. So you can see some of the art updates we've been doing too. The lava planets are looking fantastic.
One of the things that's going to be coming online in the not too distant future is a lot of the awesome lighting stuff. Like, you can see it on the teleporter where when it's dark and the thing is on, it lights up the area around it. I want the bases to be lit up. Like more lights on stuff, lights on factories, and I've even been tossing around this idea. Currently, there's a lot of units that have lights on them that are mobile, and it's like, what if we had a unit in the mix? And I don't think I've ever even talked to you about this one. But what if, okay, you're on the night side, right? You've got units. Some units have lights on them, but most don't. And then you have a unit that's like a big spotlight that's like mobile that you can drive around with your army to help light it up. Something like that. I don't know. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we haven't really even explored with the lighting side of things. So
another big change that we actually didn't mention is I really wanted to see orbital and multi-planet play more into the game. So before this update, the orbital launcher was Tech 2, like late Tech 2, 2.5. So you really had to build up before you got off planet, which kind of made it. There was instances where if I played too many people on one planet, you know, it was luck of the draw that I get squashed by 3 people right from the beginning and that kind of thing. But so what we did was I took the launcher and made it Tech 1.5 and moved it down. So now if it's like, oh, I screwed up early game, you can now build a launcher, put an Astraeus out, and get your commander off and go to another planet.
Now, keep in mind, you also way lowered the hit points of the Astraeus.
You have to be very careful with the Astraeus now, because you can easily lose your commander if they have a couple anti-air units right nearby. But it's an option now. It's an option to... I really wanted to see orbital be as an important layer as air and naval is. And I think we're definitely heading that direction now.
Yeah, not quite there yet. I mean, we still have more tweaking for sure.
It helps that the camera is so much better. The camera change that we made, getting in between planets, is so much easier now.
It's almost like the game is improving over time.
I know, it's crazy. Who would have thought?
You know, I still don't honestly think that most people have an appreciation for just how freakishly quickly we actually got the initial version of this out. Right? We started in November, and we shipped the alpha in June. Or no, was it May? It's like 5, 6.
No, it was June.
Was it June?
It was late.
That seems a really long time ago now, but you know, we're going to continue to evolve this before launch and after launch, and you know, the biggest changes I think are still in the future in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So I mean, what's out there right now is mainly just to get. There's one more unit that we didn't get in, which was a bomb bot, kind of a kamikaze bot, but.
So it like crawls and then it explodes.
Like a crawling bomb. You know, again, another infantry style unit, which is suicide bomber, but we're not going to call it that.
We should get we could get incorrect here really quick.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's coming, but this main one was mainly about getting the new units in so that we can see all the different roles and how they interact with each other. That means we spent very little time on economy balance changes and combat balance changes, and those are the things that are going to be coming soon. Actually getting the actual numbers balanced and getting the ramp up smoother, and you know, build times. I can guarantee you guys right now what's out there is not perfectly balanced in the least.
Whoa, really? You
not
sure?
Perfectly. Maybe 99.8%.
It's been close.
But it will get better over time.
Does anyone have questions? Why don't you throw those up and see if there's anything interesting going on in the chitty chat.
I thought you changed it so anti-air towers couldn't attack ground units anymore.
Not yet.
You gotta repeat the question.
We haven't answered any question. That was Andrew's off camera. Okay.
Yeah. So Andrew was wondering. He said, "I thought we changed it so that anti-air towers can only shoot at air." We haven't made that change yet. I'm not sure that change is going to be made. Along with that, actually, because there's more units going around, we wanted to make playing defense just as important. So that was.
So one of the guys is saying T2 tanks feel a bit weak. I agree.
That's
with
quite
that.
possible.
Totally agree with that. Like we were talking about that last week.
Although, before saying T2 tanks feel a bit weak, and it's a little difficult now, we're going to be getting some tech stuff in to help. Try putting the new heavy armored units in front of them, and see if they still feel too weak.
I still think they feel too weak.
It could be. Yeah. It could be, but it's hard to do now because we don't have any kind of formation stuff in yet.
Do we plan on adding new kind of explosions? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that explosion is the one that Ben made like first as temp art. I mean, it's
I think we have 3 explosions in the game that are used for everything.
Yeah. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more effects passes actually. In fact, Steve Smith, our graphics programmer, is working on some particle system optimization stuff, and then adding some features to that too. So Ben's going to have some more tools in the toolbox.
When will you guys have like a single player like the Galactic Warfare that is coming soon?
Soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Galactic War is well underway. There's a kind of a playable version of it now, but it's not ready to get rolled out.
Oh, here's a great one. You guys broke orbital radar. No, we didn't. It is working how it should now. I know it's a big change. It's like, oh my God, I can no longer see the entire planet. I was a huge non-fan of that because it takes the entire gameplay of scouting and radar and intelligence out of the game.
Well, especially when we Tech 1.5 the launcher.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's still there, but it's smaller. The benefit of an orbital satellite over the ground one is that you can move them around and try to get an idea. But I really wanted to keep intelligence gathering and knowing where radar blips are part of the game. And if the way the advanced orbital satellite was, it removed that entire set of strategy, and that just wasn't working.
I build no vision. That's just how I go.
You don't do any?
No, I just build bots.
Noob.
I've been winning games.
He builds bots. Well, yeah, winning games except for when somebody doesn't fall for your rush.
Well, that's still my planet, as far as I'm concerned.
Is the unit cannon still in development? Yes, it's still in development.
What is that word?
Which word?
Tech question. How's your experiences with WebKit? And is the graphics for the face final? What is ACE?
Interface?
Oh.
Interface file.
Oh, we're just missing the word. No, the graphics for the interface is not final. In fact, we're redesigning the entire UI right now. So there you go.
Please speed up the orbital satellite. That goes back to my point of nothing's balanced yet. It'll probably get sped up.
Colored lights by team color. Any chance of being an option at least?
That'd be kind of cool.
I'm sure. I don't see why we can do that. Will we have tools to create mod for the game? Absolutely. We look at this game as a platform, right? Ultimately, we expect you guys out there to build the coolest stuff on top of what we've built. I mean, let's face it. Both TA and Supreme Commander, the best stuff is the stuff the community built. I mean, we only, there's not that many of us, right? We can build something that we think is great, but there are so many ideas that we have, and there's so many things that we want to do that we can just barely scratch the surface of the kind of potential of the engine and of the gameplay. So mods are really, really important to the long-term health of our platform and our ecosystem. So.
And we were just at Steam Dev Days the last 2 days, and there was a talk by Robin Walker. If anybody knows who he's the guy who did TF2.
They don't. This is one of the things I realized. Valve doesn't actually talk to the community that much, like
oh,
one-to-one.
They're
there are a lot of guys over there that we know.
They had an entire hour talk about let your community build stuff for your game, and then spread the wealth. And it's
which we were already doing anyway.
Yeah, I mean it worked for them. It was part of our plan to begin with. I did see a question about Orbital. Do advanced fabbers still build them? So I didn't go into detail, but I will cover briefly. The changes we made to Orbital was the Tech 1 fabbers can build an orbital launcher now. The commander can't, but the Tech 1 fabbers can. And the launcher can only build an Astraeus to take your commanders around, a defense satellite, which is like a turret in space, the Tier 1 orbital radar, and an orbital fabber. And then the orbital fabber goes into space, and he's the one that builds all the bigger stuff. So that was a way of moving orbital down tech level so you can get off planet earlier, but yet still have the powerful things like the orbital laser and the bigger radar and stuff be later game. So that's how that has changed.
Let me give you guys a hint on your question asking, by the way. If you have the word when at the beginning of your question, I'm probably not going to answer it.
You can't answer when questions.
Assume, if you start with when, assume the answer is maybe or soon.
I mean, do people actually think that we know the answer to that? That's my question.
Well, I mean, because a lot of people think that there's the waterfall method of here's everything we're going to do, and we have it planned out on a schedule, and it'll be done when we hit that point of the schedule. That's not how we work. We work agile. We work.
And even people that pretend they work like that actually don't.
Yeah.
Like that's why software is notoriously
because things change. The game we envisioned in the beginning is not going to be the game we ship because we're going to learn things along the way. Things will turn out better than we thought. Things will turn out worse than we thought, and we'll make it work in between.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
What about roads? Is that what that was for?
Yeah.
What about roads? Will we ever see planets really be annihilated? I think you can now, can't you? If you hit it enough time with enough asteroids.
I mean, there's still some work to do to really annihilate them. Like, for example, the planet is kind of destroyed, but it's not properly destroyed, so.
What's about the orchestral soundtracks? They are in progress.
So, Howard, you know, I know you're doing the mix down on that right now. Just give me the kind of like a number of fingers that's like how many weeks you think until you'll feel comfortable shipping some of that stuff. What do you think?
Fingers?
I don't know.
He doesn't know. So sorry. That's a when question anyway.
Next week, specifically.
Yeah. 3 p.m. on April 14th of 2073.
Yes.
Sorry, is that too flippant? We can get rid of that in post, right?
Will the orbital flight paths be changed instead of having to fly to the sun, then planet, then just fly around the planet?
No.
No, but we are going to make a change so that the speed in which units fly from planet to planet can be variable. So I can be able to tune that.
Yes.
Some things are a little too long right now. They kind of break the pacing of the game. So we're going to be affecting that. But the orbital paths are actually physically calculated on what it would take to get there.
Well, except for the fact that as soon as you like start playing with the speed, they're now fake physics.
Yeah.
But it's a video game, so guess what?
We want Hollywood physics, not real physics.
Yeah,
real physics is
like
boring.
the difference between Deep Impact and what was the other one with Ben Affleck? Armageddon, right? Totally different physics there. Yeah. Both unrealistic. Well, Deep Impact was a little bit more.
I mean, if it was realistic physics, it would be like, okay, this game is going to take 2 years because that's how long it's going to take for your commander to get there.
It's true. Yeah. If you want realistic physics, by the way, there's this really great game called Kerbal Space Program that is apparently the game I've played most in the last year, and it has realistic physics in it, and it's pretty sweet. And Kerbals. Just don't leave them stranded out on like some other
Garrett
planet.
winning would indicate a balance issue. I agree.
So who is the best player in the office? That's the question.
That is the question.
I have my opinion on that, but
that's a good question. There's a couple of really good people. Like DJ's pretty good.
DJ is pretty good.
Meta's pretty good.
Yeah, Adam's
actually,
right.
Garrett's pretty good too. If there's one planet, Brad here is he can flood bots early. He doesn't know how to tech up, but
I know how to tech up. I choose not to because bots are amazing.
I think DJ is probably the best player in the office. That's my 2 cents. He seems I get scared of him when I play against him.
Are you planning to make commanders less of a liability late game?
No, that's the whole point of them.
That's the whole point. Commander's your king piece. You know, that's the guy you got to protect. You know, and it's got to end somehow. If he becomes less of a liability in a big game, then you want the game as you're playing. In general, you want the game to start off slow and build in intensity, build in action, build in strategic depth, and you want it to end in a big crescendo. You don't want it to have a crescendo and then kind of limp along, and a half an hour later somebody finally peters out.
Speaking of that issue, somebody was asking if we're going to be able to intercept stuff in space, and the answer to that, as far as I'm concerned, is
yes.
Interplanetary nukes.
Yes.
Which, you know, the idea there is you build the specific nuke that can do that versus the regular nukes that can't do that.
And if you locate a bug hole, nuke it.
Nuke it. How is the orbital cannon coming? We haven't started working on the orbital cannon, and honestly, I love the concept of it. I don't feel like it's a unit that's so important that the game doesn't play without it. I think that role is taken by teleporters and transports and a lot of other stuff. So, you know, to me, the orbital cannon is a cool thing. We'll do it eventually, but it's not like we have to get that in the game right now or the game's ruined. You know, I think the game's pretty good without it.
How do you feel about the supposed comm rush problem? I feel like the game is not balanced, and we will get there.
Let me tell you one problem with that right now. The f***ing Uber cannon can't be triggered
Right.
properly.
And that is actively being worked on.
It is actively being worked on. It's been annoying the crap out of me for a while. So anyway, I don't want to sit here and answer questions all day because it takes away the mystery.
It
You know,
does.
we do have to
Mystery.
bring this to an end at some point. How's the game coming? I haven't really seen it in a while.
It's doing all right. I feel like Mark and I have been fighting pretty nicely for a little bit here. He's getting bot rushed though. He's losing, slowly losing.
Is he still on planet?
Maybe not, but I feel like I won.
Wow, no, only the AI is out.
I helped with that. That was
Yes,
me.
there's going to be a mini map. Somebody was asking about the Megabot, the experimental kind of big bot that we built and threw in the backers forum. That is not currently planned anytime soon, but I've never said that we're going to rule out doing stuff like that.
And we will have mods.
Yeah,
So mods.
crazy.
We
Somebody
can
could
mod
maybe
them
take
in.
that model and put it in the game. Anyway, I don't know. Do we want to play out the game, or do we want to just... How close are we?
I don't think we're very close in this game, to be honest. I think this has probably got a solid
You guys are
20
you're too good.
Yeah. I mean, well, I have too many bots. I don't have enough bots.
Well,
This
how
game was
about
not a
that?
good bot game. You guys missed the internal... Well, actually, if you watched one of our internal playtest streams the other day, you probably saw the... What was it? 1,000 bot death ball that I made that Ben managed to kill because he built walls in a very specific way where he funneled me one by one.
Yeah, man, you guys.
Somebody wants to know...
I noticed that you don't have any walls.
I don't need walls.
You
I got
deserve
bots.
to be nuked.
Well, that might happen. The AI did that to me the other day, and it was a very sad day.
Somebody wants to know where the Uber coffee machine is. It's about, I don't know, 50 or 100 feet that way.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, it's
that
over
way.
there.
Yeah, that way.
Always in our hearts.
So I don't know how many people know this, but the live stream area that we use now is different than the one that we originally used,
Right.
which was closer to the coffee machine.
Because
True.
we've
This is our-
grown, but our office hasn't.
This is our reception area.
Yeah.
It's now our live streaming area. I mean, we just are bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
You guys
And
can-
as a shameless plug, if you happen to be in Canada and own an iOS device, there's a game called Toy Rush out. Go look for it and check it out.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Very pretty cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
Fun
iOS Canada only.
Yeah. Global soon.
Soon.
Soon-ish.
So anything you want to say for wrapping up, Brad?
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoy the patch, and if you haven't checked it out yet, just go update your client. I think you'll love it. There's a totally new way to play it right now. A lot of new experimental stuff to kind of mess around with. And again, thank you for your support.
And
we
it's
really
just going to
appreciate
get
it.
better moving forward.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
just going to keep getting better. This is just the first of many different things that you're going to see in Planetary Annihilation.
Thanks again for everyone that's bought the game and is playing it. It's what makes it possible. So
Yeah.
keep doing it. Keep it up with the feedback. We're gonna keep tweaking, keep building, and making it better. So
Uber soon.
should we do like
Huh?
a Seacrust oot?
Oot.
Oot.
Uber oot?
Uber oot.
We out?
We're good?
Yeah.